Good afternoon and welcome to Yorkshire Voice on Wednesday the 26th of March. I'm Lucy Atterbury.
And I'm Eric Hewood. On today's programme, Chancellor Rachel Reeves has made her spring statement in the midst of rising economic and political pressure. We have the full breakdown here in the studio.
We'll see reaction as a beloved school in Pudsey tells parents it's set to close its doors.
We really rely on the nurture and the small classes and the really sort of bespoke teaching that Full Neck offers.
Find out which picturesque Yorkshire town has been named the Sunday Times' best place to live in the north of England.
And I'm at the oldest nightclub in the country to hear about the pressures of staying afloat in the clubbing industry.
But first, today, Leeds West and Pudsey MP Rachel Reeves delivered her spring statement. It's created more than the unusual interest because of the country's cost of living crisis and the cuts of that have already been announced.
Our political correspondent, Ben Monse, has been drilling down into detail about what's been announced today.
Yes, thank you. The Chancellor of the Exchequer and Leeds West MP Rachel Reeves has just given her spring statement to Parliament.
The OBR have today revised down our growth forecast for 2025 from 2% in the autumn to 1% today. I am not satisfied with these numbers, and that is why we on this side of the House are serious about taking the action needed to grow our economy. Backing the builders, not the blockers, with a third runway at Heathrow Airport and the Planning and Infrastructure Bill. Increasing investment with reforms to our pension system and a new National Wealth Fund. And tearing down regulatory barriers in every sector of our economy. That is a serious plan for growth. That is a serious plan to improve living standards. That is a serious plan to renew our country.
This statement was a mini-budget in everything but name and gives the Chancellor the opportunity to outline the state of Britain's finances, as well as her planned economic strategy. However, amid high inflation and borrowing, diplomatic unpredictability and a halving of the forecast for Britain's economy, much of Reeves' strategy today was expectation management. After a restriction of the eligibility requirements to disability benefits last week, Reeves promised further cuts today to welfare, which means recipients will have their entitlement frozen at £97 a week until 2030. We spoke to the economic and social rights leader Amnesty International about the impact the cuts will have on disadvantaged people.
The purpose of a social security system is an insurance policy against hunger, homelessness and deprivation. It's not to be used as a stick to take people out to work. And this arbitrary change to an eligibility criteria isn't proportionate. There's no transparency around it. And in fact, they're saying that there's not even an opportunity to consult on it. So what we're going to see is more people driven into deprivation. And what we're hearing from around the country is that the mental health impact of that is huge. The physical health impact of that is huge. People are already waiting long time for NHS care. That's only going to get worse in the situation where you are driving people over the edge into poverty.
Another method the Chancellor is using to find the money for public spending is by cutting waste within government. On Monday, she said she planned to cut 10,000 jobs within the civil service, saying an estimated £2.2 billion, which she intends to redirect towards frontline services. The statement generated backlash from unions that argued after years of underfunding, these cuts would create chaos within the service. I spoke to the president of the Public and Commercial Services Union about the ramifications of these cutbacks.
I mean, it would be absolutely disastrous. I mean, it's quite clear to us that we need more people working in the civil service and more civil servants, not less. Anybody who's followed any of the progress made or lack of progress made over the past number of years will know that stripping back on the civil servants and the staff who work, providing these vital public services, does not work. It doesn't enhance the service. It brings the service to a grinding halt in many instances, and certainly has an adverse effect. And obviously for our members as well, real concern about job security now on top of that, with these cuts announced. But in terms of the impact on services, they will be devastating. And you know, it's a lesson that sadly this government doesn't appear to have learned from the previous one.
But how are these economic changes affecting the community in Yorkshire? We spoke to the owner of a coffee shop in Cookridge to find out how the political decisions have affected them.
It's hard. It's really hard, and because we've just been through a long winter, and we live in an area where the weather is always a little bit worse because we're higher up. And so half as much custom, and then your bills are still coming in and you're still having to purchase. Things are going up, things are getting smaller, but your prices aren't getting smaller. You've got your wages to pay, and we just don't seem to get any help as small businesses as we should. We've got mums and tots here at the moment who come every Wednesday for lunch with the little ones. We get a lot of older people that come out that might never even see anybody for the rest of the week. And people are not going to be able to afford it. If they can't afford it, what are we going to do? Because the money's not going in the till.
Now, a lot of these decisions have been taken within the confines of the government's self-imposed fiscal rules. Although these rules are intended to calm the market's uncertainty, many feel that they should be adapted to a quickly changing world. The Joseph Rowntree Foundation released recommendations earlier this week about how the government should bridge the spending gap. I spoke with one of their policy advisors.
The challenge of meeting the fiscal rules is clearly a priority for the Chancellor and for Number 10 Downing Street. Doing that through cuts to welfare is simply the wrong choice. That is balancing the books of the nation on the backs of some of the most marginalised people. And we actually think that there are options here that the government hasn't thought about and needs to. So we could certainly be looking at changes to taxation that would still be within the fiscal rules, that would not break the government's manifesto commitments, but would actually begin to rebuild finances on the backs of those with the broadest shoulders, and actually could support growth by reducing some of the perverse incentives in our tax system, by evening up the treatment of income from wealth and from investments compared to how we treat income from employment.
And we'll be following up on the effects of this statement in our communities across Yorkshire in the weeks to come.
Thanks for that, Ben. Turning our attention to Pudsey now, where parents have been left shocked and devastated that the independent Fulneck school has announced it's set to close its doors this summer.
The announcement earlier this week came as a surprise to many parents of the students at the school. Our reporter, Matthew Dudley, has been speaking to one of the parents who's worried for her child's future.
We really rely on the nurture and the small classes and the really sort of bespoke teaching that Fulneck offers.
That was Lizzie Redgrave, one of the many concerned parents after Fulneck School in Pudsey, West Yorkshire, announced its decision to close the school after over 270 years of teaching. The school is based on the Fulneck Moravian settlement, a Grade 1 listed site, which makes it one of the most architecturally significant in Leeds. The school has been housing and teaching students between the ages of 3 and 18 since 1753, and according to the Top School Guide, it's the 6th best private school in the region. They have confirmed they will continue teaching as planned until the end of the year, and then will support students as they move away from Fulneck. But what effect will this have on them?
He's only been here since September and he's thriving. So we are deeply concerned about how he's going to manage elsewhere. It's just some further trauma for him, and for us as parents it's a nightmare.
In a statement released by the school, they say, despite the dedicated efforts of the school and the Fulneck trustees to sustain pupil members, a continued decline in enrolment, combined with rising operational costs, has made it increasingly challenging to maintain financial viability. They went on to add, we are also committed to ensure a smooth transition for all affected and will offer support to our pupils, parents and staff throughout this process. With this in mind, the school has announced a fair on the 2nd of April, which invites representatives from other independent schools in the area to support students in their next steps. Despite this, parents of the pupils are still feeling the stress.
I just kind of need to get my head straight of how this is going to be for Toby, because he's not just your average student at a private school. It's tricky.
Lizzie Redgrave speaking there. The Nighttime Industries Association released figures last week detailing the reduction in the UK's nightclub sector since March 2020. The decline equates to a loss of over 400 venues across the country.
Yorkshire has been one of the hardest hit areas, with over 40% of independent businesses being lost. Despite this, Acapulco nightclub in Halifax has been able to stay afloat. It's the oldest nightclub in the country, and our reporter Raj Kaur is there now.
Thanks, Lucy. So this nightclub has been a fixture in this Yorkshire town since 1961. And it's been affectionately known as a source of memories for many generations. I'm joined by Simon Jackson, nightclub owner. So thanks for joining us, Simon.
Nice for coming.
Thank you. So you're recognised as the oldest nightclub in the UK. What's your secret for going so long?
Do you know, it's a good question that I sometimes ask myself. But basically, I think it's got to be the value for money and the entertainment. I think the entertainment if you come in here compared to most nightclubs, it's in a different class. It's very much the 1990s style, but that's coming popular again now, thank God.
Yeah, it's certainly nostalgic. So a recent report by the Nighttime Industry Association showed that 32.7% decline in the nightclub sector. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, it's massive. It's terrible. It really is terrible. Obviously, a lot of this, I think, came originally from COVID. People were so used to being locked away for 2 years that some people, when it first reopened, were a little bit afraid of coming out. I think that obviously put a lot of debt onto a lot of the nightclubs, which meant some had to close almost immediately. But it has had a knock-on effect. I don't think it is just that. There's a lot of other things as well. Halifax is lucky. We've got the purple flag in Halifax, which means you hit at least a certain standard of safety, which means hopefully the police get there in time should you need them. The town should be reasonably clean, which is a good thing. That helps us. I know Leeds has also got but that's it in Yorkshire. There's only 2 or 3 places that's got the purple flag. But yeah, I think you've got to have a safe environment, not just in the nightclub, but also in the town, so people can walk around the circuit and just enjoy a good night, safe night out. That's the main thing, I think.
That's brilliant, yeah. So what's it like being a nightclub owner?
It's great. No, you know, it's a funny thing. It's a strange job. You work funny hours. In wintertime, you don't see the sun at all because it's dark when you come to work and it's dark when you go home. And then in summer, it's the reverse. But, you know, something I've got used to over the last 40 years. It's okay now.
Well, I must admit, I think we might have to pay a visit sometime myself. What's your most memorable person that's come in?
You know, we've had a lot of famous people through the door. We've had people literally just walking in that we didn't realise who was famous. We had Will of TV. I can't remember his last name now. But we've had a few people in that's been famous over the years. It's been nice.
Thank you so much, Simon, for joining us.
Now, the Netflix show Adolescence has taken the country by storm over the past couple of weeks. The series has shone a spotlight on the issues faced by our children today. But did you know that much of it was actually filmed right here in Yorkshire?
That's right. One of the filming sites in Wakefield is also home to the community organisation, which helps at-risk teams stay safe by setting up football matches.
Director of the organisation, Our Youth, Arman Nazir, spoke to us about the work that his group does and the effect which he hopes the hard-hitting series can have.
Our Youth, we're down at Thorns Park and we've got a right football match going on. Look, this is what it's all about. With me going through my own difficulties and towards the criminal justice side as growing up, I kind of understand as well, a bit more understanding in that sense about second chances, because with myself, I appreciate, the chances I got and I expect the ones that didn't get. So I could relate to a certain extent in that sense. What's really worked well is when, you're getting them involved in activity, you're getting that engagement going, and you're building that trust. And then it's like, actually, you could tackle stuff like, sexual exploitation or criminal exploitation, look into grooming, county lines. So you can have those conversations that when they're at ease with yourself, it's like, when you see a young person helping out another young person in football, like that's a bit younger than them, giving them tips, and that teamwork that's involved, I think that is a great thing to see as well. And that's actually developing their own skills, personal skills, social skills. And I think with adolescence, with what is kind of projected out to the community and made them more aware that already existed, I think with ourselves going in, it's going to work out really well for everybody.
If you've been affected by any of the issues discussed in that interview with Arman Nazir, you can call the NSPCC helpline on 0800 0800 5000.
Now next up, here at Yorkshire Voice, we couldn't declare our innings unless we feature a story about the extraordinary people of our great country.
Today, we feature Sarah Carmody, who tells about her special connection to St Chad's Cricket Club.
I've never played cricket in my life, and I've driven past St Chad's probably thousands of times throughout the years. And about 3 or 4 years ago, I was looking over and I thought, oh, I'll give that a go. And the rest is history. I've never left. So Chad's is very much a family affair for us. So there's me, my wife, our now 7-year-old, and there was also Nathan. So Nathan had a physical disability and used a communication aid to speak with. But Nathan came to all of the games. He came to watch his sister train. He came to watch me and the women's team play. He was our biggest supporter. And he said to Paul, the chairman, one day, can I join one of the teams? And Paul just said, well, where there's a will, there's a way. So Nathan passed away last year at the age of 26. And since then, we've decided we're going to continue this pursuit in Nathan's memory, but also to honour his life in which he spent really fighting for the rights of people with disabilities. We just want to welcome everyone from around Leeds with a disability and say, look, it's an open, inclusive club. Everyone is welcome and there's always something to do.
An emotional and yet heartwarming story. Now, let's head over to Anna Barnes with the weather and see if she's managed to find a nice spot in the sun.
Thanks, Eric. Well, it's an absolutely beautiful day out here today. We did start today with some fog and low clouds in places, but that's been clearing up throughout this morning, giving us a bright and dry day with some lovely sunny spells. It's definitely feeling warm here when the sun is shining, with temperatures reaching a maximum of 16 degrees. Winds will be light throughout the region, which should result in a very comfortable afternoon. As we head into tonight, the clouds will gradually increase and we may see some drizzly patches developing throughout the evening in some areas, but most of Yorkshire will stay dry with occasional clear spells. However, we can expect a cooler and breezy night with some temperatures dipping to around 4 degrees. That's all for now. Back to the studio.
And our final story this afternoon focuses on a local beauty spot that has scooped a very prestigious award.
Ilkley has been named the Sunday Times Best Place to Live in the north of England, wresting the crown from Leeds. It also previously held the national title in 2022.
Yorkshire Voice's Courtney Brady visited the beautiful town to take in the sights.
Ilkley has been crowned as the #1 place to live up north. This is the second time the West Yorkshire town has won that accolade in 5 years.
It's got loads of different facilities. Nice place to live. I don't live here, but I would love to live here.
With its bustling high street and the natural outstanding beauty that surrounds it, it's not hard to see why. I spoke with Town Mayor Damien Kearns to hear his take on what makes Ilkley so unique.
It'd be hard to imagine anywhere that has such a vibrant community activity scene, volunteers mainly, and the range of activities is really broad. What is it about Ilkley? Well, just look at this beautiful street, the Grove, our primary shopping street with the cherry out in full bloom. It's a beautiful town to live in.
Courtney Brady, Yorkshire Voice.
Well, I think I better get myself over to Ilkley now. That's all we've got time for on Yorkshire Voice today. Thank you so much for joining us.
We'll be back at 4 p.m. tomorrow with all the headlines. For now, make sure you're keeping up to date with the Yorkshire Voice socials. Have a lovely day and evening. Goodbye.